the current accounting.
For example,
Sir, bill
Inventories,
receivable.
prepaid expenses,
bills
cash and
receivable,
bank
debtors,
balances.
cash, bank balance, stock.
Yes,
All
yes.
right.
Yes, sir, doctors.
And short-term advances given to somebody, not taken,
Yes,
but given.
yes,
Taken
sir.
would be liability.
Sir, that
Short-term investment.
Short-term investments, correct. If you invest money for 3 months, 2 months, 10 months, less than a year, it is your current asset. So if you have more current assets than you actually need, so it shows your mismanagement. You are not putting good use to your assets. The resources that you have, you are unnecessarily keeping them with you. The example I gave you, that suppose a company has huge stock. So what would you consider? The company is not in a position to sell in time. It is holding its stock because it is unable to sell. Therefore, one can say that a current ratio more than the desired one. And what is the desired one? It is 2 is to 1. 2 is to 1. You can comfortably have current assets of rupees 2 as against current liabilities of rupee 1. If it exceeds, so you are not actually making good use of your assets. Instead of holding too much of cash, how much cash should a company have? Whichever is sufficient to meet its day-to-day expenses plus some cushion. There are methods available based on which company forecasts and company maintains that much of level. If it maintains beyond that, example I gave you yesterday also, if you receive a monthly, you know, this one, your pocket expenses from your parents, you are living in a hostel, say 10,000 rupees. So you will not keep more than 1,000 rupees in your wallet. If you keep that, so you are wasting your money. You're taking risk also. Although these things have changed drastically in the current world, you people are not carrying cash with them. They are only carrying their mobile phone. They can make a payment through any of the platforms like Paytm, Google Pay. There are several. But in the earlier days when this was the situation, the example I gave you was in connection in the context of that. So now, after having understood current ratio, we go on to the next ratio. If this is clear, no questions are here, known as acid test ratio. It is also known in the books as quick ratio. What, what will it be known as? Acid test ratio or quick ratio. This ratio also measures the short-term profitability of a company, but the difference between this and the earlier one is that the earlier one measures short-term liquidity, short-term solvency of a company of roughly a period of 3 months. This ratio measures the liquidity of a firm on urgent basis, 1 day, 2 day. If somebody demands and you are able to pay immediately, then you will be known as, your acid test ratio is good. The acid test is in literal sense you can use. कहते नहीं कि ये उसका acid test है, असल test यही है. So acid test ratio is also known as quick ratio. How do we calculate? Current assets minus stock divided by current liabilities. If current assets are 2,000, stock
Sir,
is
Sir,
Sir,
we
here
can
also
track
here also,
2000.
sir.
no.
10.
How can we
If current
subtract
assets
Sir,
are
that?
there is a mistake
20,000,
in slide, sir.
no.
sir.
Current assets are 20,000. Stock is 5,000. Then what does this ratio become? You take,
Sir, it should be 50,000.
sorry,
15
It should be
stock should be
50,000.
15.
wait, hold on. Current assets are 20,000. So minus 5, it will become 15,000.
Yes.
Liabilities are 10,000. The ratio will become 1.5. Up to second sentence, is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
If
sir.
Yes, sir,
current
it
assets are
is.
20,000, if you subtract the stock of 5,000, it becomes 15,000. 15,000 divided by 10,000 becomes 1.15. So current ratio, sorry, acid test ratio or quick ratio, standard 1 to 1 is to 1 is considered satisfactory. If you have 1.5 is to 1, still you are on the higher side. But if it is 1 is to 1, it is okay. But if it is less than 1 is to 1, it is dangerous. So the firm is considered as a solvent or liquid or financially sound if it maintains ratios in this category or in this scenario. Now, yesterday you told me that C was good. Now in this slide, which one is good? based on this slide, which firm is good? A, B
सर
or
फर्म
C?
में
So firm
Sorry?
A.
चलिए ठीक है, एक काम कीजिए, जल्दी से अपने जवाब लिखिए, रोल नंबर टाइप करिए, जवाब लिखिए. Type your roll number in the chat box and write your preference. For example, okay, F131 says B, B, A, B, A, B, B, B.
So,
Yes.
so how can be A possible? Because how can acid test ratio be
Well,
more
hold
than
on,
current ratio?
hold on. Wait. Who was right now speaking?
So,
Vanshika.
yes, sir.
Okay, good. Can you switch on your camera?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Stay here. So you all have written one or the other answer, कि B is good or A is good or whatever. Okay. So one observation that Vanshika has made, I deliberately prepared this slide like this. Now look at this slide. Do you still see any inconformity or anything wrong in this slide?
The
Yes, sir.
current ratio is less than the acid test ratio.
Current ratio is less than the acid test ratio, which is
Wrong.
not possible,
Wrong.
because what are you
Yes, sir.
doing? You are
Because
dividing
we are.
current assets by current liabilities minus
Yes, sir.
stock.
Yes,
Even
sir.
if stock is zero,
Yes, sir.
the current ratio will be equal to acid test ratio, but
Acid
it
test
can never be
ratio
more than
more
this.
than. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So this was deliberately done just to check. Is this part clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
The
sir.
observation
Yes,
made
sir.
by this first observation was made by Vanshika, and who told the second time?
So first
Tushar.
observation was, yes, sir.
It was by Vanshika, and second time
Tushar.
Tushar. Okay. So this is how you have to keep your eyes open. You see the formula. The formula is in front of you. The formula says current assets minus stock divided by current liabilities. So under no condition it is possible. All right.
But so there can be possibility, na? We have calculated the quick ratio, which is quick
Which
assets
was
upon quick.
okay? Tell me, why is it possible? How is it possible?
So the quick liabilities does not include the bank overdraft.
Who says
So
quick liabilities do not include bank overdraft?
yes.
Liabilities, we are not including, we are not dividing it by quick liabilities, we are dividing it by current liabilities.
No,
We
but
are
sir, there is
dividing
an
it by
alter. No, sir,
current
there is an
liabilities, and
alter.
current liabilities include a bank overdraft.
Yes, sir.
Further, apart from formula, apart from remembering and this and that, look at the logic, look at the reason. Something payable at a short notice. Where will you get money from if you don't have yours? Therefore, it is to be included. So you have learned two ratios, current ratio and acid test ratio. If the uh, if the information is given, data is given, you will be in a position to calculate that. I will not correct it now. We'll use it later. Then you have, if you have understood these two, we can proceed and calculate the third and fourth. Okay, third and fourth calculation I have not shown here. I'll be sharing with you later. You can at least refer to the books before we come back to this one. Now we discuss the second group of ratio, which are known as, unless you have any question on the first two, current ratio and acid test ratio. If you have anything, I'll talk about that. I'll explain to you. If not, then I will move on to the next one, which are available in this slide. You all have mentioned your roll numbers now. Okay. Apart from your roll number, even this, the answers that you provide here, this also serves as your presence in the class. More you interact, more it is in your interest. Ahmad, are you joining it now, or Ahmad Arif?
No, sir.
You were here present before
Yes,
also.
sir.
Okay.
I was from it.
Sorry,
No, sir. I was.
but why did not you type your roll number here?
Sir, I typed that.
So this is second time you are writing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. But just type once only and then answer the question that I asked you. Those who have already typed, why should they type again? Just only once you type your roll number and then you answer the questions and type your answers in the chat box. So if you don't have any question on those two ratios, we move on to the next group of ratios known as turnover ratios, also known as efficiency ratios. Either turnover ratios or efficiency ratios, also known as activity ratios, can be called by one of the three names: efficiency ratios, turnover ratios, or activity ratios. The basic idea behind calculation of all those ratios, total ratios which come under this category, is to see how efficiently various departments of the company are functioning. How good is the production department? How good is the sales department? How good is debt collection department? How good are you using your assets? How bad or good you are using your other resources? So ratios will convey that the company is good and in which compartment is it better than others, right? So there are several which I have listed in the previous slides. I'll be starting with the first one, that is inventory turnover. Now inventory turnover, it suggests how soon are you able to sell your inventory. The idea or the purpose of calculating this ratio or this inventory turnover ratio is how soon are you able to convert your inventories into sales. If you keep inventory for more number of days, you will not be as efficient as expected. If you produce today and you sell immediately tomorrow, day after, as early as possible, then you are efficiently managing your business. If you don't have enough stock does not mean that you lose your orders. You should have sufficient stock so that all orders can be serviced. But at the same time, you should not hold stock unnecessarily. If you are doing so, you are not efficient. So inventory turnover helps you deciding such things. How do we calculate? The calculation is credit sales upon average inventory. Just there's a word of caution here. If you look at various books, in some books you will find this formula. In some books, instead of credit sales, you will find total sales. In some books, if not credit sales or total sales, you will find cost of goods sold. I'll repeat, either cost of goods sold or credit sales or total sales, one of the two, one of the three. So you decide which one is to be taken, but take it for all places. Do not change that sometime credit sales, sometime total sales, sometime cost of goods sold. No. Whatever you wish to take, just take once and then you continue with that. So the analysis will be correct. So the calculation I have shown here, credit sales divided by average inventory. What is average inventory? It is opening stock plus closing stock. If you divide by 2, just simple average that you calculate. Like any average you calculate any. So similarly, it is calculated here also. So pick up the figures of credit sales, divide these figures by average inventory. The answer you get is your stock turnover or inventory turnover. In the current example that I assumed that you have credit sales as 1 lakh, inventories are opening and closing 10 and 30, the average becomes 20. Inventory turnover becomes 5 times. Now, how do we interpret this 5 times? Okay, its interpretation will be easier or better if we calculate another ratio which is known as inventory holding period. It conveys somehow better and easy meaning. Inventory holding period tells you how long do you hold inventory before it is sold. You produce today. If you hold for 1 month, so your inventory holding period is 30 days. If you hold her for 22 months, your inventory holding period is 60 days. Larger the period, lesser the period, better it is for the company. So we are calculating inventory holding period from the first calculation. How do we calculate inventory holding period? 360 divided by inventory turnover. Before I proceed, let me explain what is this 360. It can be 365, it can be 360, it can be 300, it can be 250. Does it make any sense to you if I say 365, 360, 300, 250? Why I have said all these words, all these figures?
Sir, I think number of days.
Number of days.
Number of days in
Number
a year.
of days.
Okay, then why 360? Why say 300?
So
Or
30
why
days a
250?
month.
Sorry,
30 days a month.
तब तो 300 कहाँ होगा भाई? 360 होगा. 300 क्यों कहा?
The one accounting
300.
year.
Okay. You see, the people who work in the company, there are, some conflict of interest. Senior management would like to assess their performance on yearly basis. Management, lower level, middle level management, they will argue, why should our performance be assessed for the days for which we don't work? See, they don't work on Sundays and holidays, so it will be 300 days. If they were 5 days a week, they say you judge our performance for working for 250 days in a year. We don't work for 365 days. But anyway, to avoid any confusion, just assume that we will be working with a figure of 360. In some books, you will find them not in days, but in months, somewhere in weeks also. So somewhere you will find figure of 52. In some books, you will find figures of 48. In some books, you will find figures of days. In some books, you will find figures of 12. So I am taking days for the simplicity, for the simple calculation. So we have worked out the inventory holding period. How do we work it out? Number of days divided by inventory turnover. That is the one we worked out at 2.1. So in this case, our answer is 72. So the company is producing goods today and is able to sell after 72 days. So which company will be better? The one which sells, okay, the one which sells earlier. There are suppose 2-3 firms. One is selling in one inventory holding period is 72 days, for another 60 days, for yet another it is 30 days. So which one is better?
So जिसका भी inventory holding period कम
Jiska
होगा
inventory holding period
कम होगा सर. The next suppose you gave example of 6 days. So the one who is
yes,
able to hold for 6
okay,
days would
correct.
be.
जिसका inventory holding period कम होगा. And under what conditions inventory holding period will be less? When your this denominator is more or less?
Sir, more.
Less.
Denominator is more. In case of
More.
5, the answer is 72. In case it is 10, the answer will be
36.
36. So that means if the inventory turnover is higher, inventory holding period will be lesser. Under what condition inventory holding period will be higher? When
When
more कम हुआ तो
when days
no, even a step before, when your average inventory is less, this turnover will be higher. When turnover is higher, number of days will be less. Everything is interconnected. So we calculate inventory holding period and decide how good or not so good a firm is when it comes to selling. Then we take another turnover ratio known as debtors turnover. Debtors turnover tells you how quickly are you realizing money from your debtors. At what interval are they paying you money? So should they pay faster? Should they pay in less number of days or more number of days?
So less number of
that
days.
seems ideal.
Less number of
They
days.
should correct. They should pay in less number of days. Look at 2.4. Average debt collection period. So debt collection period should be more or less?
Less, sir, less.
Less.
Less so,
Okay,
yes.
yes, correct. How do we do it? It has been illustrated. So 2.3, meaning I have explained to you what is debtors turnover, how quickly you get money from them. Calculations. Credit sales divided by average debtors. Credit sales divided by average debtors. And what are average debtors? Opening balance of debtors, closing balance of debtors divided by 2. So suppose credit sales is 3 lakh, opening and closing debtors are 10 and 20,000 respectively. So debtors turnover becomes 20 times. Once again, this 20 times will be used to calculate debt collection period. So 360 divided by debtors turnover, you get 18 days. So what is the interpretation of 18 days? What is the interpretation of these 18 days?
So that on average, if we give out some money, if we have debtors, they pay back in on average 18 days.
Yes, yes, very true. Now, debtors turnover or debt collection period, you can say, is an accounting language. In ordinary language, you can say that we are extending credit of 18 days to our debtors. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Average
We
on
are
average.
selling goods today. We sold on 1st of January, and our people, our debtors will pay us on 18th January. Whomsoever we have sold on 10th of January, the chances are, on an average, he will pay us on 28th of January, because our debt collection period on an average is 18 days. So what should firm strive at? More debt collection, more days or less days?
So less days are
So less
favorable.
days
Less
are
days, yes.
favorable.
Less days.
If
Less
less
days.
days are favorable. So if you have several companies, which one would you rate better? Which has lesser
Debt collection
Lesser
periods.
number of
Lesser
debtor
number of
period.
days.
Yes.
You can say
Number of
which has
days.
lesser average debt collection period. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All these four are clear. Just one second. Adil has written, a higher inventory turnover would also mean there is a high demand of the product in the market. No. Why is it not? When there is a high demand, so you will produce and sell continuously. You will be producing and selling. In such a scenario, will you have more stock or less stock?
Less stock.
Sir, more stock
Less.
हो जाएगा because of
Most.
constant production.
नहीं देखिए,
Let's
you should
stop it.
have just once, you should have ideal quantity of stock. What is ideal quantity? Nobody can say in numbers for any company. The company itself will have to decide. But at least for the class purposes, one can say neither you should have too much stock that goes out of fashion. You are not able to sell. It becomes obsolete. You unnecessarily spend money in holding it, safeguarding it, etc., etc. Neither this should happen, nor you should have that least stock that you go out of stock and you are not able to serve your orders. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we proceed. So the company which has lesser debtors turnover will be better. Then we go for yet another category of ratios within the activity or efficiency or turnover ratios known as creditors turnover. It is just opposite to debtors turnover. Here, what do you gauge? What do you determine?
Sir, हम कितने दिन
The number of
we
days in
push
which we
payment
will be paying to creditors.
Number of days we pay to our creditors, or number of days for which we avail credit from others. So before discussing this slide, should you avail credit for more number of days or less number of days?
So more.
Less
more
number of days.
Sir, less number of days.
Number of
Less
days.
number. Less क्यों? आपके सामने एक चॉइस है. जिसने भी 1 मिनट होल्ड कीजिए, 1 मिनट वेट कीजिए. जिसने भी कहा है लेस नंबर ऑफ डेज, उससे या जो लोग इसको
It will be more number of days because like अगर ज़्यादा number of days होंगे तो we will be able to gain more profit और उसके basis हम लोग slowly उसको pay कर सकते हैं. We get more money for investment.
So that means you need more number of days.
Sir,
I think,
in my opinion, sir, it should be less because sir reputation कम हो जाती है और आगे creditor मतलब आगे
Yes,
कोई
sir.
lend नहीं करेगा फिर हमें money.
Or कोई anybody who agrees with Tushar or does not agree with Tushar?
Sir, I
This is
agree
because of
with
the
Tushar.
interest rate.
More number of days. अच्छा, वे काम कीजिए. Just mention here more or less. जो भी आप चाहें वो mention कर दीजिए बस. Write your roll number and mention more or less. Based on your answer, I will suggest what kind of a person you are and which course should you opt in your final year. आपने जितना लिख दिया उसकी बेसिस पर तय हो जाएगा. Less, more, less, more. This is good. You are heading for a good future for the department. Department in the sense you will have, the specialization which are available will suit. Correct. So more or less, more or less, more or less. Correct. More or less, your answers are correct. So those of you who have written more, is someone else left, or should I announce my decision? Okay, those of you who have written more, you should specialize in finance. And those of you who are writing less should specialize in HR. Now, if you can relate it, not now, maybe later, कि भाई, have I concluded this? What is my conclusion? What do I recommend?
So those who have written more should go for a finance major, and those who have written less
Okay.
should go for a HR major.
Achha. You try to think over the logic. Is the conclusion that I have drawn? Come back to the calculation part. Calculation suggests, see, how do we calculate? It is just opposite to debtors turnover. So in debtors turnover, we used the word credit sales. So what do we use here? Credit,
Purchases.
Purchases.
because they are just opposite to sales. There we used average debtors. Here we are using average
Creditors.
Creditors.
Everything is same except they are just opposite to each other. So our creditors turnover is 5 times and our credit payment period is 72 days. So because there is no unanimity, if we should have more or less, in my case, it is guarded more. When I say guarded more, I mean so long as it does not affect our relations, it does not, at any penalty or interest, so long as you are able to smartly negotiate, and you can, provided, see, somebody goes to the market and does not get even 1 day's credit. Somebody goes to the market and can get 6 months credit. So naturally, somebody who is extending him 6 months credit must have evaluated the credit worthiness of the person. Must have, if you are in a business and you have received 2 orders, one from ABC company and one from Tata Sons, where would you like to sell?
Tata Sons.
Tata Sons.
Tata Sons. Even if Tata Sons says, okay, we will need a credit of 3 months. Somebody says credit of 2 months and Tata says we will need a credit of 3 months. You will still go with Tata, isn't it?
Yes.
You have
Yes, sir.
you have a choice to deal with Tata and Reliance. Whom would you deal with?
So Tata.
दोनों के terms देख लेंगे.
जी,
अब तो दोनों ही मोतबर कंपनीज हैं, तो दोनों के टर्म्स देख लेंगे.
आपके ख्याल से टाटा और रिलायंस आज की डेट में दोनों मोतबर हैं? You see the difference between an industrialist and a businessman. दोनों में कुछ फर्क समझ में आता? Industrialist and businessman. Where would you classify Tata?
So industrialist.
You all have said without a pause, without even a second, all of you have said industrialist. Or Ambani's?
Businessman.
आप क्या प्रेफर करेंगे, बिजनेसमैन होना या इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट होना?
So industrialist.
Businessman.
आप बताइए भाई आदिल.
Industrialist.
Businessman.
हाँ भाई आदिल, अब बताओ दोनों मोतबर कैसे हो गई?
ठीक सर, फर्क समझ आ गया. जज़ाकल्लाह खैर.
आप समझ में आया ना? ओके, चलिए. हाँ
Sir, average creditors payment period would be 360 by creditors turnover, right?
क्रेडिटर्स टर्नओवर, यस.
जी सर, स्लाइड में
क्या लिखा
360.
है? एवरेज क्रेडिटर्स पेमेंट इज इक्वल टू 360 डिवाइडेड बाय एवरेज क्रेडिटर्स पेमेंट पीरियड बाय डेटर बाय क्रेडिटर्स टर्नओवर. बाय यस, क्रेडिटर्स टर्नओवर, यू आर राइट. स्पेलिंग गलत हो रही. क्रेडिटर्स टर्नओवर. ओके, यू आर राइट, क्रेडिटर्स टर्नओवर. तो ये आपका आंसर अब ठीक हो गया. अब आपने 3 रेशियोज कैलकुलेट कर लिए. एक आपने कैलकुलेट किया एवरेज इन्वेंट्री होल्डिंग पीरियड, दूसरा कैलकुलेट किया आपने डेटर्स एवरेज डेट कलेक्शन पीरियड, और तीसरा कैलकुलेट किया एवरेज क्रेडिटर्स पेमेंट पीरियड. यहाँ कौन सी कंपनी को आप बेटर करेंगे? विच हैज मोर क्रेडिटर्स पेमेंट पीरियड और लेस, वो आपने ऑलरेडी बता दिया. किसी ने लेस कहा, किसी ने मोर कहा। मैंने आपको उसका लॉजिक बता दिया। अब आप यहाँ आ जाइए, विच कंपनी इज डूइंग बेटर? IHP स्टैंड्स फॉर
Inventory holding period.
inventory holding period. ADCP stands for average
The average day.
collection period,
Just
and ACPP stands for
Average credit.
Average
average creditors payment.
creditors payment period.
ये कौन सी कंपनी बेहतर है? ए बेहतर है, बी? अगेन आप अपने जवाब लिखिए रोल नंबर के साथ में कि ए इज बेटर देन बी और बी, विच एवर यू कंसिडर एन ए रोल नंबर और बी रोल नंबर और सी। ए बी, देखिए जल्दी लिखा कीजिए, टाइम इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, इसमें सोचने का वक्त नहीं। आपके सामने डेटा है, आप डिसीजन ले लीजिए। ए बी ओ सी पे तो कोई जाए नहीं। हाँ, सी भी लिखा लोगों ने, ए बी सी ए बी सी ए बी ओके, ए बी बी सबने लिख दिया या कोई बाकी है? अभी कुछ चाय वाय पीने चला गया होगा तो नहीं लिख रहा होगा। Okay, let me start. Zaid has written B is better. Why do you think Zaid B is better?
Sir, because the inventory holding period is lying in
हमें तो अपना
between.
फोटो लगाओ, तुमने कार्टून लगा दिया। कैमरा खोलो अपना। ऐसा लगता है कोई वाकई में बच्चा सा बोल रहा है, कार्टून टाइप का। हाँ, अब बोलो।
Sir, because
हाँ,
I
बताओ
think the inventory holding period for B is lying between A and C, and it should be less.
This is what, okay, this is what your logic is. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Shama, you have written A.
Yes, sir.
हाँ, क्यों ए क्यों बेटर है? अपना वीडियो ऑन करो।
Sir, yes, sir.
अरे बेटा, कहाँ गायब हो गई तुम? हाँ
Sir, I have written A because इसका inventory holding period कम था इसलिए.
अच्छा,
That's
inventory
why
holding period
this was my topic.
right?
Yes, sir.
Anyone else who would like to justify his or her answer?
तो वही एवरेज की वजह से, क्योंकि बी
चलिए,
का
कोई बात नहीं, ठीक आपका लॉजिक एवरेज है। और बताइए, कोई और आंसर को जस्टिफाई करना चाहता? एंड इफ सपोज आई से, हाँ, यस राधिका।
सर, इन्वेंट्री होल्डिंग पीरियड ए का कम है, तो इसके बेसिस पे हम लोग फिगर आउट कर सकते हैं कि उसका जो स्टॉक है वो जल्दी सेल हो रहा है। तो लाइक
Okay. Now let me elaborate. There are three departments in the company. One is producing and selling. Sorry, one is selling. The other one is collecting money from debtors. The third section is, managing purchases. Managing purchases. By and large, there's a conflict of interest in all these three departments. Sales department क्या चाहेगा? Sales department would like to sell as fast as possible.
Yes, sir.
To sell as fast as possible, you have several options. Number one, your product should be of good quality. In addition to the good quality product, you also should offer more discount, more credit time period. अगर कोई ये कहता, सपोज प्रोडक्ट सेम है, कोई ये कहता कि हम 1 महीने के लिए उधार देंगे, कोई ये कहता हम 3 महीने के लिए उधार देंगे, तो किसकी प्रोडक्ट जल्दी बिकेगी?
तो जो उधार देगा
3 महीने के लिए उधार देगा।
3 महीने के लिए उधार देगा।
जो सर 3 महीने के लिए उधार देगा।
Suppose you are working in the sales department, in the marketing department, you go and offer them कि ठीक है भाई, आप खरीद लीजिए, 3 महीने का उधार देंगे। Do you think finance people will allow you to do so?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Will money come
No,
from
sir.
to sustain your current operations? They will say no, you cannot offer a credit of more than, let us say, 1 month. Okay. Now you come to the purchase department. Purchase department की efficiency कैसे तय होगी कि सबसे कैश में खरीद लें, everybody will give them. But if they go to the market, want to buy on credit, naturally their test will lie in calculating these. So there will always be conflict of interest between or amongst the department. One cannot be left free at his or her will. So you have to make sure all these three departments do something in such a way that it goes overall in the interest of company, not either for sales people or for marketing people or for production people, or isn't it? One particular unit cannot take independent decision without considering its outcome on the other unit. ये actually real life में ऐसा होगा कि नहीं होगा? Now based on this analogy, based on this example, would you like to change your decision or you will strict to your earlier decision कि नहीं, हमारे हिसाब से B ही बेटर है या A ही बेटर है या C ही बेटर है? All right, कोई बात नहीं. अब now my answer is, suppose I say, हाँ बताओ.
So I'll go like concluding all the things. I'll go with C then.
Okay, no justification. Let us say that you maintain your situation or you change your. Suppose my answer is that none of the answers are correct. ना A सही है, ना B सही है, ना C सही है. A, B, C तीनों में से कोई आंसर सही नहीं है. Then what will be the correct answer? Suppose जी.
Sir, it might depend on the job you're looking for in the company. Could we say that?
नहीं, आपसे तो ये पूछा जा रहा है, ये बताइए इन तीनों में से कौन बेटर है. किसी ने A बताया, किसी ने B बताया, किसी ने C बताया. मैंने कहा तीनों आंसर गलत है, तो सही आंसर क्या होगा? Shall I give you the answer or you want some time to think?
दे दीजिए.
Sir, दे दीजिए आंसर.
Sir, yes sir, please दे दीजिए आंसर.
आंसर दे दे. आंसर तीनों का देखिए ये है. स्लाइड पे मैं पहुंच जाता हूं. पहले मैंने कहा तीनों, मैंने ये नहीं कहा कि तीनों कंपनी अच्छी नहीं है. मेरा स्टेटमेंट क्या है कि A, B और C करेक्ट आंसर्स नहीं है. उसकी नाउ लेट मी टेल यू इन much more simpler words. Let us talk about company A. When it holds inventory for 30 days, its money is blocked for 30 days. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. After blocking its money for 30 days, it sells goods on credit, so its money remains further blocked for 50 days.
Yes sir.
Yes, sir.
इसका पैसा कितने दिन के लिए ब्लॉक हो गया?
50 days के लिए.
80 days.
80 days.
80 days.
But its money is not really blocked for 80 days because it has also blocked others' money for 20 days.
Yes, sir.
है कि नहीं?
Yes sir.
Yes, sir.
इसको साइकिल को चलाने के लिए, सिचुएशन को ईज आउट करने के लिए कितने दिन के लिए पैसा चाहिए?
60 days.
60 days.
60 days.
Absolutely right. If it can manage money for 60 days, the cycle will be repeated. अब ये बताइए B के बारे में क्या ख्याल है?
Sir, same situation.
Same situation.
Same situation. Yes sir.
For all of
C
them,
के बारे में
same.
Same again.
Sir, same.
इसका मतलब ये हुआ, all these companies are either good or bad or average or best. Neither A is better than B nor C is better than B. No, compare A with B, B with C, C with A, B with C. All of them are equally either good or equally they are bad. इसीलिए मैंने कहा था कि आपका आंसर A, B, C में से कोई आंसर करेक्ट नहीं है. तो what is this last word that I have written? I have written NOC. It stands for net operating cycle. What I have written? Net operating cycle. तो net operating cycle कितनी हो गई इस कंपनी के सिलसिले में?
60 days, sir.
60 days. Correct. How about, for others also it is 60 days, isn't it?
Yes sir. Yes sir.
Now, अब बताइए कि net operating cycle, so decision will be taken on the basis of net operating cycle. So you have added inventory holding period, you have added debt collection period, and you
minus
subtracted
subtract 20 days. That is
this
creditors payment period.
तो आपकी ये साइकिल क्या हो गई? 60 डेज. ये प्लस या माइनस?
Plus, sir.
The plus में.
Plus में ही हो सकती है.
Plus 60 days.
Plus 60 days.
Plus 60 days.
That means you need money for 60 days. क्या ये साइकिल जीरो हो सकती है? ये साइकिल तो ओके. लेट मी आस्क अनदर क्वेश्चन बिफोर. आप क्या चाहेंगे आपकी कंपनी में ये साइकिल कितने दिन की हो? लेस नंबर ऑफ डेज और मोर नंबर ऑफ डेज?
So
Less.
Less number of days.
Less number of days.
Less
Simply.
number of
Under,
days.
okay, less number of days, clear. Under what conditions can it be less? In any permutation and combination. Either this 30 is reduced, or this 50 is reduced, or this is increased.
yes,
Isn't it? In any permutation and combination, your effort should be to bring it to lesser number of days, right? How many least number of days can you bring it to? 50 कर सकते हैं इसको, 40 कर सकते हैं, 30 कर सकते हैं, 0 कर सकते हैं.
Yes, sir.
Sir, not zero, I
Yes,
think.
sir, कर सकते
तो
हैं.
जीरो कर सकते हैं.
कर सकते हैं, I guess.
0 कर सकते हैं.
so practically not possible.
Practically not possible. Let us talk practically only. हाँ बताइए, प्रैक्टिकली नहीं कर सकते. चलिए, लेकिन आपकी ख्वाहिश तो होगी ना कि ये 0 हो जाए. तुम्हारा माइक बंद है अनामिका. ओए अनम.
Yes, sir, मतलब वही practically देखा जाए तो it's not possible, लेकिन चाहते
But
तो सब यही है
I am
ना.
asking, you say according to you, it's not a definite statement. आप कहते हैं practically possible नहीं है, but it will be your desire. Desire होगी या नहीं होगी?
Yes, sir, कि 0 days हो जाए.
ज्यादा कम करने की भी नहीं हो रही है. लग रहा है कि एसीपी भी ज्यादा बढ़ जाएगा.
सर
तो
जीरो तो नहीं
क्या कह रहे हैं तुषार, जरा फिर से बोलो.
तो जीरो तो नहीं होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि
जीरो तो
सर
नहीं होनी
इतने दिन के लिए कोई ब्लॉक नहीं करने की वो मिलेगी.
कोई बात नहीं, अरे भाई आपका अपना असेसमेंट है. 0 नहीं होने चाहिए. क्या माइनस में हो सकती? फिर इसका मतलब माइनस में तो हो ही नहीं सकती.
सर माइनस में होगी तो कंपनी की माइनस में तो हो ही नहीं सकती है ना ये चीज.
माइनस में नहीं हो सकती. चलिए बहरहाल ये आपका अपना असेसमेंट है. फिर मैं कह रहा हूँ नन ऑफ द स्टेटमेंट इज डेफिनेट. अब आपके लिए काम है. काम ये है, डेस्क वर्क है. कोई आपको बाहर नहीं जाना. कलकत्ता मोटर्स के लिए कलकत्ता जाने की जरूरत नहीं है आपको. जहां आप रह रहे हैं वहीं आप काम करिए. आप सर्च कीजिए, डिस्कस कीजिए, बात कीजिए, तलाश करके ये बताइए कोई सी भी 2-3 कंपनीज, नॉट मोर देन 3, सिर्फ मैक्सिमम 3 कंपनीज के बारे में सोचिए कि उनकी इन्वेंट्री, उनकी बैलेंस शीट देखिए, नेट पर सर्च कीजिए और देखिए कि उनकी इन्वेंट्री उनकी नेट ऑपरेटिंग साइकिल कितने दिन की है. क्या कोई एक आध कंपनी ऐसी आपके नज़र में आती है जिसकी नेट ऑपरेटिंग साइकिल नेगेटिव हो या 0 हो? आपको एक क्लू मैं दे रहा हूं कि at times in a company net operating cycle can be 0. Within a company for one product it can be positive, another product it can be 0, and for yet another product it can be negative also. यही छोड़ता हूं मैं आपको, ज्यादा आपको एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर रहा. Think over it. Again, it is not necessary that you should do, but if you can try, you will learn. If not, see, आंसर मैं आपको अभी बता देता हूं, but it is not the way. आप थोड़ा सा कुछ अपने ग्रे मैटर पे एक्सरसाइज कीजिए, थोड़ा सा इन्वेस्ट कीजिए कुछ इसमें, आप सोचिएगा क्या हो सकता है. ओके, नाउ बिफोर वी प्रोसीड, आर देयर सम क्वेश्चंस on? I have explained to you 4 ratios today. No, sorry, 7. Acid test ratio, debtors turnover, debt collection period, creditors turnover, creditors payment period, and inventory turnover and inventory holding period. ये 7 मैंने आपको बताए हैं. इन 7 में अगर कुछ आप पे सवाल करना है तो आप कर लीजिए, नहीं करना है तो either I can take up the next task or maybe we will meet tomorrow once again. इस वक्त आपके जहन में कुछ सवाल हो तो बता दीजिए. और हाँ, इस पर भी गौर करके मुझे बताइएगा, मैंने क्या कहा था आपसे? बताया था मैंने कि जिन लोगों ने मोर कहा है उनको क्या ज्वाइन करना होगा?
Finance.
I can read their mind fit for finance. और जिन लोगों ने लेस कहा है, I can read their mind. Which one?
HR.
Sir, just a query.
हाँ.
Will you suggest to the people who are already in IB and IBS?
नहीं, उसमें जो है ना, रियल लाइफ में तो जाके जो आप काम करेंगे वो तो कुछ भी हो सकता. तो मुमकिन है वो लोग रियल लाइफ में HR करें. अगर डिपार्टमेंट में भी नहीं वो HR कर रहे हैं तो मुमकिन है अपनी रियल लाइफ में दे आर मोर इनटू ह्यूमन रिलेशंस. और जो मोर कह रहे हैं वो आपको अकाउंटेंट में, लॉयर में फर्क तो आता होगा ना, फर्क मालूम होता होगा. नॉट एज ए प्रोफेशन बट इन देयर पर्सनैलिटी ऑल्सो. बताइए. हर आदमी की जो पर्सनालिटी है वो उसके जॉब से मुतासिर होती कि नहीं होती?
Yes, sir.
होती है ना?
yes.
होती है। तो आपकी भी जो पर्सनालिटी है वो किसी पर्टिकुलर जॉब को सूट करेगी।
Of course, sir.
ऐसा होता है नहीं?
Yes,
जो आदमी दिन भर करता है वो उसको उसकी पूरी लाइफ पर अफेक्ट तो करता ही है वो।
Yes. So when you work in a certain field, your physique, your mentality becomes according to that only.
Yes. All right, I think enough for the day. So we meet tomorrow, same time, 8 o'clock.
Yes, sir, inshallah.
MHA के लोगों की कितने बजे क्लास आज एक्स्ट्रा?
So 8:45.
8:40 थोड़ा सा 15 मिनट का मैं डिले कर रहा हूँ, कुछ एक वजह है उसकी। तो लेकिन उससे पहले आप लोग सवाल जरूर तैयार करके रखिएगा।
Yes.
Okay, sir.
All right, you can leave the class and join another class.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
morning.